Welcome to our little homestead. I'm going to give you a garden tour today. So I'm going to start out with, this is our kitchen garden, and this is the one that we just put in this year. It's approximately, I would say maybe 10 feet by 30 feet, give or take. I don't know, I haven't measured it. I just laid it, I did it based on what the fence fit. So let me show you what we've got planted in it. This row is, we've got lettuce that is going to seed, and I'm just going to let it go to seed, and then I'll save the seed and replant it in the fall. There's some turnips, and then down at the end are carrots and marigolds, and that was, I had carrots planted and they weren't coming up, so I gave up on them and planted marigolds, and then the carrots started coming up. So it's just going to be a mix of the two, and that's fine. The next row is all zucchini, and we've got little baby zucchini coming on, so I'll be able to pick some of those here in the next couple of days. This row is radishes, and it got too hot, so unfortunately they went ahead and got, the hotter it gets, the spicier the radish gets. So we're just letting them go to seed. There's a bunch of seed pods. And once again, we're just gonna save the seed and plant them again in the fall when it cools off. And then down at the very end are just some green onions and some purple green onions, I guess is what you would call them. This is a row of cabbages that we got for free. And I think there's, let's see here, 2, 4, 6, 8, there's 10 plants. So we'll see how those do. So far the bugs haven't found them, which is good. This row is just a combination of different flowers. Zinnias, cosmos, there's some daisies in there. I think there's supposed to be some poppies in there. We'll see. It was kind of sporadic on what came up. Then we have, this row is all snack peppers and basil at the end. This row is all bell peppers. And then this row has hot peppers on one end, which are habanero and maybe a ghost pepper. I don't know whether it survived or not. And then there's 3 cherry tomato plants, and then at the end are jalapenos. And then just kind of along the side, I have a whole row of sunflowers. I also have an herb garden that has a few things in it, but it's not looking great. I need to kind of revamp it, so that's why I planted the basil in this. The purpose of a kitchen garden is to plant things that you're going to immediately use. So that's why, like, cherry tomatoes are out here, because I'm just going to immediately take them in and eat them. This is stuff that's maybe not as much going to get processed and put in the freezer, although the bell peppers will. It was just a matter of, I had the space for them, and I kind of wanted to see how this garden worked out. I'm really liking this setup, and if I like it enough, it's a lot of work to set up, but I'm really liking the way that it works on space. So I'm going to see how it goes as the year progresses and then go from there. So let me take you over to the big garden. All right, so here's kind of an overview of the big garden. We've got the barn, and then the compost is against it. There's a couple apple trees in the background, and then right over there is an asparagus patch. There's also strawberries in it, and then along the fence we have some raspberries that I started this year. And then I also have a really nice raspberry bush that a friend of mine gave me that's somewhere else that's producing gangbusters this year, so we've been excited. This garden is approximately 4,000 square feet. It's about 20 feet by 100 foot, give or take. And this is the one that we've had established for a few years now. So here we have 3 rows of green beans. These are a mix of green beans, yellow beans, and purple beans. And I just save seed year after year and mix them all together and plant them. They all taste good when you mix them all together, so that's how we do it. And I don't mind it. We've got 2 fences of cucumbers. So the first fence is cucumbers all the way down, and you can see these are a little bit more progressed than those are. I try to stagger plant them so that we don't get all the cucumbers all at once, that we kind of have cucumbers all year round. Well, not year round, but all season. And then once again, there's cucumbers down at that end that are a little smaller. And then this fence is all snow peas, and I planted them too late, but my intention is to just go ahead and let them all go to seed and then save the seed and replant them in the fall. And then we'll actually have snow peas, sugar snap peas, whatever you want to call them. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that works out well. Then I actually got out and tilled yesterday, and then my husband mowed, and that's what we do for weeds, is we till it until we have enough grass to cover it. And then, like you can see here, you can kind of tell the difference between the old grass that was there before and then what we added on yesterday. So just anytime he mows, we pick it up and spread it out, and it keeps the weeds at bay. So this whole row is butternut squash because my kids absolutely love butternut squash. My husband does as well. So I always plant a whole row of it and get plenty off of it. The next row kind of worked and kind of didn't. There's 2 watermelon. They're both like the snack size watermelon, I think, or picnic size is what they call it. One of them is a red watermelon, and then the other one is a yellow watermelon. And then I had 2 mounds of cantaloupe that didn't come up, and then a pie pumpkin that didn't come up, and a loofah gourd that didn't come up. Well, the pie pumpkin and the loofah gourd both came up, but a rogue chicken came in and scratched the whole thing to pieces, and that was the last of my seed. So unfortunately, those are done for the year. But yeah. So that row's kind of interesting. The 2 mounds that are left there and there I've planted nasturtiums in with the vining plants, and they're supposed to help keep squash beetles away. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave them there because nasturtiums are really pretty, and they're actually an edible flower, so we'll just leave them. I guess I'll show you as I'm here. We actually have little baby watermelon coming on. Aren't they adorable? They even have the stripes. So we have baby green beans coming on, we have baby cucumbers, we have, I haven't seen any butternut squash yet, but I think they're getting ready to flower. We've got baby watermelon, and then this row is all different kinds of winter squashes that I was wanting to try. We really like butternut squash, so I wanted to try a couple others. So this is, I've got 2 spaghetti squash, which is nice for me because I have to eat low carb. So they're doing pretty good. Then this one is a Hubbard, and so that's the center of it, and you can see it's already vining way out. So it's doing really good, which a Hubbard squash is a fairly large squash when it gets done. I also have a buttercup, and then down at the end is an acorn squash. And then, down the next one over is an acorn squash. And then the one down at the end, it was one that got dug up by chickens. And so I redid it. And so it's a little on the small side. And it is a Delectica is the name of it. So we are getting some flowers and some starts of squash off of this. And I really like winter squash because you don't have to do anything to it. You can just store it we store it in our back room, or some of it down in the cellar, and we just let it go. So that's really nice, just in that I don't have to can it, I don't have to freeze it. I can just store it away and it's good. There is we had a bunch of volunteer tomatoes. So there's a volunteer tomato. Most of them I've went ahead and dug up and gotten rid of, but that one, because of where it's located, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it. So next is I have a row of sunflowers, and it's a mix of all different kinds, everything from edible ones to decorative ones. And then in front of it is a row of zinnias, because zinnias are my favorite. And once again, it's just a mixture of all kinds of different zinnias that I've picked up. I like to go to the Dollar Tree at the end of the season, and they put their packets of seeds on sale even further. So you can get a whole lot of packets of seeds for next to nothing. And then there are a few random flower seeds down at the end, but nothing, it's just kind of a mix of whatever I had left over. So then next is a row of medium to large slicing tomatoes. I know there's some Brandywine, there's Cherokee Purple. There's actually two kinds of Brandywine, because I've got a Brandywine red and then a Brandywine pink. Pineapple, I think I've got a Hillbilly. Those are some of our favorites. I love the ones that you slice a tomato, it covers a whole thing of a whole slice of bread. And then the next two rows are all Roma tomatoes. So what I use for canning, diced tomatoes, salsa, pasta sauce, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, all that kind of thing. So I plant quite a few of those. Slicing tomatoes, I think I've got 8 or 9 of, and then Romas, I think I've got 15. Sorry, our chickens are right here, and our goose likes to squawk at me. Yes, say hi to Luce the goose. And then that's one of the roosters. So that's them. That we have a mobile coop and fence. We move them every 3 days or so. And then that tree right there is a mulberry, which is just about done producing for the year. And then you can kind of see the little white flags are the 3 raspberry plants that I planted this year, and they're just on this old fence, and I've put the little white flags on there so that we can see when we're mowing where they are, because they're still only about a foot tall, so just to make sure that we don't hit them. So that's garden for this year. I kind of figure I might go ahead and update every once in a while, maybe once a month or so, on how it's going and what it looks like as it grows. It's one of those where every year at the beginning of the year I kind of get super excited about growing, and then halfway through the year I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this, and then at the end of the year I'm totally done with it. But then I look at the 72 quarts of green beans that I canned last year or whatever, and I'm glad that I did it. Over in that far corner is what my daughter claims is hers. She's almost 12, and last year she actually had better luck with her tomatoes than we did. Well, then this year we didn't get really anything planted in it. She was going to do radishes. Well, then we ended up doing them out in the kitchen garden. But when we came out to till for the first time and start planting green beans, we had planted potatoes, and we had a bunch of volunteer potatoes come up. So we ended up transplanting them all over into this corner. So there's one, and there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. So we have no idea whether they're going to be white potatoes, red potatoes, or yellow potatoes, because that's what we planted last year. And obviously she needs to come out and weed. But it was kind of a fun, oh look, we have potatoes that we weren't planning on planting this year. So that was kind of a funny one that, okay, well, we'll transplant them and see how they do. This is Longfellow. He has a funny meow, but he's an old sweet fella. He's the daddy of most of the kittens that we have right now. So, yeah. Thanks for joining in on my garden tour. Here, I'll leave you with some pretty green bean flowers. Have a great day, and God bless.